Good Wednesday morning. It is May 27th. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller, and you've got us here from the weather desk where we tackle today's top weather headlines. And we've got a lot going on, not only here in Hampton Roads, but across the country and around the world. We're also going to talk some space news from NASA. We broadcast from the 13 News Now studios in Southeast Virginia, and that's where we're going to begin. Let's take a look at our headlines. We do have a weather impact alert for our local area here. This is Southeast Virginia down into Northeast North Carolina. I'll have a lot more on that. I also have the severe weather wrap from across the country, and we'll have the outlook coming up, what you can expect today. In addition, we've got a regional drought update. We have had some rains recently, and that's helping a little bit, but there are still areas that need more rain. We'll talk about that. We also discuss a European heat wave that is ongoing. We'll show you how hot it is over in Europe. We're going to talk about something known as a Lahaina noon with the sun position and the shadows. We'll talk about it. It's pretty wild. And then we also have a wedge tornado from Mexico caught on tape. This wedge tornado stirring up a lot of dust down in northern Mexico. So more on that coming up. Also, the latest on NASA's moon missions. They've released some updates, kind of the plan and what's going on. You'll hear on that, and we'll look ahead to the weekend. So plenty to go over. We will start off with a look at this weather impact alert. And it's really for late this afternoon through this evening for Hampton Roads. We'll say between 5 and 10, although it may linger a bit later, maybe 10:30 or 11. And off to the north and northwest, it may start a little bit earlier. But in general, this is kind of the time frame we're looking at for most of the metro area. As we take a look, the primary impact should be gusty winds, some locally heavy downpours. There is some potential for hail, although it probably won't be as big a deal across the metro, maybe off to the north. And then the main issue, the thing that we want to stress more than anything else, is just stay weather aware as things could change. It was 24 hours ago that the Storm Prediction Center put out their updated outlook, and we were mentioning, hey, we're under this level 1 threat for Hampton Roads today. Well, yesterday afternoon, they bumped it up to a level 2 or slight risk. So we do have this elevated risk. Let's start off with the timing on this. And as I mentioned, we're going to really look for this late afternoon. I think as we go through noon, temperatures are going to be warming up. I just went outside, shot what we call a vertical video for one of our other digital platforms. And as I was shooting it, I was pointing out it is so muggy out there. Dew points are in the lower to mid 70s. Air almost feels tropical. I mean, very, very humid. And with the heat, that's going to set the stage for some of these storms to develop this afternoon. Now, there's a frontal boundary off to the north that's been kind of stalled. It lifted a little farther north as a warm front. But this thing's going to kind of meander and then settle back down through the area. So I expect highs today, upper 80s, some spots will hit about 90. And then as we go through the late afternoon, 4, 5 o'clock, you start to see some of this development. A few stray showers, could have some locally heavy rain. And this is one of those things, the winds aren't really all that strong, but there's so much humidity. If you do get a cell or two that pops up, could be a heavy little rainmaker. So there could be some locally heavy rains off to the north, better chances for showers and storms through the late afternoon. But as we get into the evening, you see these storms here kind of developing along that frontal boundary as it starts to sag southward again. These are the ones that have the potential to be stronger, and there is the potential for severe weather. Primary threat, again, gusty winds, maybe some hail if these storms get really powerful with a lot of convection, those stronger updrafts. The tornadic threat is not really identified at this point from the Storm Prediction Center as a significant really consideration at this point. I can tell you that our staff here always analyzes these cells, and when we see something, if it looks even the slightest bit suspicious, we'll do the full dive into it, obviously checking out the velocities, the storm relative velocities. We look at everything to try to detect any type of rotation that may be occurring with any of these cells. Even though the tornadic threat's low, we'll still watch for that stuff and let you know if anything were to develop. As we go through the evening, past 10, 10:30, 11 o'clock, things should settle out. Skies will gradually start to break up, and then more clearing tomorrow. I expect a really nice afternoon. Thursday and Friday is going to be gorgeous. You can see the greater threat for strong to severe storms to the north. It's a level 2 threat from the eastern shore, northern neck, middle peninsula, the peninsula, and then south side Hampton Roads, basically the northern 2/3 of Virginia Beach, northern half of Chesapeake into Portsmouth. Norfolk, back over to northern Suffolk into Isle of Wight, Surrey, and those areas off to the north, out to the west, Petersburg, Richmond, all the way out through Farmville. I think about areas out towards Lexington and Stanton, Charlottesville, D.C., all included in this level 2 threat. Now, hail, this is not as great a threat for the areas down to the south, but there is a slight elevated threat off to the north. Wind will be the greater consideration. We'll be watching that as we go along. Down to the south, again, level 1, but this level 2 threat with some of those storms producing gusty winds. As I mentioned, the tornadic threat isn't as great. Now, severe weather slammed parts of the southeast earlier this week, and we've got to look at some of the damage in Alabama, where a tornado skipped across Houston and Henry counties on Monday night. We know at least one home has been destroyed. Fortunately, no one was hurt. Mississippi is also dealing with severe weather. Take a look at this. Flooding cut off a neighborhood near Kiln on Tuesday. That's not far from the Louisiana state line, about an hour away from New Orleans. The flooding was caused by the rising Jordan River, which is currently at least 8 feet higher than normal. Rescuers had to help many residents escape by boat.
I wasn't expecting it this time. I mean, with all the flowing that we've been having it going down, last couple of days, it's been looking good. And then all of a sudden this morning I woke up and bang, and it's getting worse. It's still coming. It will get pretty quick. I got my neighbors now pulling their truck out so that because they didn't know anything about what was happening. And I told them it gets all the way up on their place and they need to get that vehicle out of here.
River levels are expected to return to normal by Friday night. In western North Carolina, crews have been working to reopen several roads that were forced closed due to all of the flooding. This is a look at conditions near Henderson County in Asheville. That area got up to 10 inches of rain in a matter of hours, and first responders had to help a few people get out of their homes. This is the same area that is still recovering from Hurricane Helene.
There's no doubt people are, hate to use the term PTSD, but it's a little bit of kind of what people have from the storm. And again, this is the first time we've had some really significant weather since Helene. We've had a few little instances since then, but especially this area that got hit so hard to get hit again.
And again, we're very fortunate no one was hurt in this round of flooding. All right, next, what you need to know about gardening during a drought, plus whether the weekend rain has helped improve the dry conditions in Virginia and North Carolina. That's after this. Welcome back to the Weather Desk. You can see Virginia and North Carolina, like so much of the rest of the country, has been experiencing drought conditions. It has been rough. Meteorologist Taylor Stephenson breaks down where we stand right now and if the weekend rain has had any impact.
New data from the U.S. Drought Monitor shows extreme drought conditions now stretching into parts of the peninsulas through central Virginia and central North Carolina. With Thursday's update, about 40% of the Wakefield's National Weather Service forecast area is now classified in an extreme drought. According to the NWS, this is the most widespread extreme drought in our region since the late summer and fall of 2007. Extreme drought conditions can have major impacts. Crops can die, Christmas tree farms may become stressed, and rivers, lakes, and reservoirs often fall below normal levels. The remaining 60% of the area is still dealing with moderate to severe drought conditions. This sliver of the moderate drought is the lowest level of the ongoing drought throughout the entirety of Virginia and North Carolina. The good news is that rainfall from the Memorial Day weekend provided at least some short-term relief and will help to chip away at the ongoing dryness. The next Drought Monitor update will be released on Thursday, May 28th. For 13 News Now, I'm meteorologist Taylor Stephenson.
And you can bet tomorrow morning we will have that updated drought monitor for you coming up tomorrow morning from the Weather Desk. It'll come out at 8:30 tomorrow morning, and we'll pass it along when we start off the show tomorrow at 9. All right, if you have a backyard garden, you may have questions about what you can do to keep your plants alive in these drought conditions. Ed Olson oversees the Virginia Cooperative Extension Master Gardener Program through Virginia Tech. He says even with our current drought conditions, you can have a successful garden. When rainfall is scarce, experts recommend watering early in the day when temperatures are cooler and less fluid will evaporate. You should also apply water directly at the base of the plants, making sure it gets past the surface.
Well, the best key about making sure that plants get the water that they need is to apply it efficiently. And sprinklers, you can have 20 to 30% of the water lost before it even reaches the plant. Remember that plants are living things, and then they need that attention and care in order to thrive, especially during their first year.
Experts also recommend trapping available moisture with rain barrels and group containers to make use of the limited water. By the way, Ed Olson, that man we just heard from, will join us for a live interview from the Weather Desk tomorrow. So we'll have a chance to talk to him, and I'll follow up with a few more questions. If you have any more questions for him about gardening in drought conditions, let us know. All right, we're going to take another quick break. Next, Europe is experiencing an early heat wave. Just how much higher the temperatures could climb. Plus, Hawaii experiences a Lahaina noon. We'll explain how the phenomenon works. That's after the break. Welcome back to the Weather Desk. Western Europe is experiencing exceptional heat early in the year. This heat wave is going on. The record for the hottest May temperature in the UK has now been broken for 2 days in a row. The continent is dealing with a powerful heat dome, and as a result, most of Western Europe is enduring temperatures 10 to 15 degrees Celsius above normal this week. They are cooking. This is a look at tourists braving the heat in Italy. Temperatures there expected to peak today, with highs expected to hit the low 90s, and more than a dozen cities are under orange alert right now, which means the heat poses a risk to the elderly, to children, and those with chronic illnesses. We'll take a look here at some of the temperatures, and again, you can see they're ahead, so it's obviously getting into the early afternoon there in Europe. But Bordeaux, 95 right now. It's 90 in Madrid. Lisbon, right now, 90 degrees. Rome, 86. So a lot of heat there. Budapest at 90. So really, as you take a look across Europe, they are not typically this hot this early in the year. That is certainly something we will watch. You can see the sun is baking too. Not a lot of cloud cover over much of Europe. Just a few sparse showers here and there south of Czech and into Austria there. We've got a little bit back down into northern Italy, a few showers as well, and then back off to the northeast. Right now, the UK is seeing a lot of sunshine, just a few fair weather clouds kind of cutting across parts of England. So that's what's up in Europe. We're now going to turn our attention to Hawaii. And if you think about this, the Hawaiian Islands sit just below the Tropic of Cancer. Now, that is the northernmost point that the sun's direct rays fall straight over that Tropic of Cancer when we get to the summer solstice. That'll be coming up in a few weeks. Well, Hawaii experienced what's known as a Lahaina noon this week. Take a look. This is a rare solar event. Well, it happens twice a year when the sun passes directly over the islands with those most direct rays at a 90-degree angle. Now, the occurrence causes upright objects like flagpoles and street signs to cast no shadow. The Lahaina noon happens twice a year again, and this only happens right there as the sun passes directly over Hawaii, and then it kind of maxes out a little bit north of Hawaii. Then when it comes back, they'll have another Lahaina noon after the summer solstice as the sun moves back to the south. But it's wild to see these shadows directly underneath the object. It doesn't stray out. It doesn't cast out, but straight down. Very, very cool. We thought you guys might get a kick out of seeing that. All right, so there's Lahaina specifically, where you get the phrase Lahaina noon right there on Maui. We're now going to turn our attention way back over across the ocean and to Mexico, and specifically to the north central part of Mexico, just south of Texas, where a dusty wedge tornado was caught on camera. Check this out. There's your video. And again, that tornado there looking pretty classic, not as much like a wedge there, but they did get a wedge tornado as well. This was captured in Coahuila, and that was Tuesday. Now, this severe supercell thunderstorm moved through that region. Again, the phenomena is known. There's the wedge tornado. That's it right there. You can see that funnel there, at least as wide at the ground as it is reaching up as tall. So really wild to see that. The man who took the video says no injuries or structural damage has been reported so far. We'll take a look right now at the well, we're going to take a short break. And coming up right after that, new moon missions. NASA just released new details on the upcoming missions to the moon, when astronauts could finally return to the lunar surface. Plus, the outlook for the rest of the week. It's coming up. Welcome back to the Weather Desk. NASA is releasing new details on its upcoming moon missions. It's all part of a grand plan to send astronauts to work and live on the lunar surface. Here's ABC's Sophie Flay.
New images from NASA show the agency's vision to build a sprawling base on the moon with living quarters, power stations, rovers, and drones. It could cover hundreds of square miles and serve as a launch pad to Mars.
We want to be in an environment where we can learn the skills so that astronauts can go and plant the stars and stripes on Mars someday.
The plans announced yesterday come just 6 weeks after the Artemis II mission sent astronauts around the moon for the first time in 50 years. This $20 billion moon base project will unfold in 3 phases. The first, kicking off this year. NASA will use drones and rovers to scout the best sites near the moon's south pole before construction begins in 2029. During that first phase, NASA plans to land on the moon nearly 24 times. And by 2032, it plans to send the first astronauts to live and work on the lunar surface.
With Moonbase, Artemis astronauts will stay longer, explore farther, and conduct the kinds of science that advances exploration itself.
It's an accelerated timeline aimed at outpacing China, which plans to land humans on the moon by 2030. NASA isn't going it alone, announcing new contracts with 4 companies, including Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin, which will build a lander to deliver rovers to the moon's surface. Elon Musk's company, SpaceX, is already under contract to build a system that will shuttle astronauts from the moon's orbit to its surface.
We are creating a future where exploration is not just an incredible moment in history, but the first foothold beyond Earth for all of humanity.
Sophie Flay, ABC News, New York.
One big target date in this process is in 2028. That's when NASA hopes to land those astronauts on the moon for the first time since 1972. We will be watching that. Right now, we're watching things for the weekend. I promise you an outlook here. Things looking better for Saturday around Raleigh, New York City. Things looking good in Cleveland. Some rain in Boston, storms down across Atlanta and Orlando. Nice for Houston and Dallas. A little toasty down that way. Some storms for Little Rock, but Chicago and St. Louis look good. Chances for storms around Denver. Some rain in Salt Lake. Looking good out west along the coast in the southwest. As we look ahead to Sunday, how about that? It's going to be a little cooler. Temperatures mid-70s in New York, Raleigh at 77, Boston 66. Still chances for wet weather, Atlanta through Orlando. A little more wet weather down to the south around Dallas and Little Rock. Out west again, sunshine for San Francisco. Temperatures warm, 93 in Vegas, 100 in Phoenix. If you're going to hop in the car and maybe head out to D.C. this weekend, 77 Saturday, 73 on Sunday. Charlottesville, very pleasant and looking good around the Outer Banks as well. We should have a nice weekend here. All right, yesterday we picked up a little bit of rain. The high was 77. Just wanted to let you know 80 is the normal. We are 5 inches below average for the year. More chances for showers and storms. Remember, we do have that weather impact alert, potential strong to severe storms later this evening. After that, things improve. Friday looks gorgeous. And as we look forward through the upcoming weekend, very, very nice into the first day of June. Mostly sunny and then partly sunny on Tuesday. Just very low risks for stray showers as we go Saturday and again on Tuesday. I think most of the area will be dry. Again, we've needed the rain. We've talked a lot about it. We will continue to watch that, and our team here at 13 News Now will keep you updated with more live streaming throughout the day. Here at 13 News Now on our Plus app, we'll let you know as storms develop. You can always stay in touch with our forecast and our broadcast when you download the 13 News Now mobile app. It's free and available at the App Store. Just scan that QR code and enjoy all the free content available to you. That's going to do it for this edition of the Weather Desk. We'll see you next time.